I welcome you to our program, which is entitled Integrated Theology. I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves, and today we're going to continue on in our Integrated Theology, Lecture 1, Part 3, Supplemental Lecture 3. Today I want to talk about the linguistical tools of theology. Because linguistics is such a, I'll say, very, very comprehensive subject, I don't want to dive into all of the technicalities that will deal with the timbre, the tone, and the various aspects of linguistics, such as syntax and so forth and so on. But I want to specifically talk about the linguistic tools of theology. When we speak of the linguistic tools of theology, we speak of them, the modes of communicating theology through language. And so basically when we speak of theology and theological studies are connected to a lot of reading, a lot of discussion, a lot of discoursing, which deals with a lengthy discussion concerning theological issues. And so when we speak about the linguistical tools of theology, we know that it has to deal with, first of all, utterance. The utterance of the mouth is simply the manifestation of the knowledge from the heart and the intellect. The will is always present because the will is the determiner as to from what aspect this knowledge will come, whether it will come from the intellectual point of view or whether it will come from the emotional point of view or a combinative point of view that is interpreted or brought together through intellect and emotional intelligence. And so the linguistical aspect of theology that is necessary is, number one, logic. There must be logical discourse. Logical discourse connected with critical thinking enables us to understand how to think from a logosian point of view. Logic is taken from the term logos, and I understand in the Greek they didn't always believe in God, but because we're dealing with a theological point of view, we're dealing with God as the central figure. And so literally logos or logic is the mode, the methodology, and the content in which God thinks concerning all theological inquiries and matters. Because when we speak of something that is theologically, we're talking about God himself. And so logic aspirations of speaking or linguistic aspirations of talking will deal with God's point of view of himself. How does God think about himself? How does God think about his creative aspects? How does he think about his nature, his capacity, his being, his power, and his relationship with his community or creation? And so logic is one. Then the next deals with hermeneutics. And so epistemological hermeneutics or linguistic hermeneutics. Hermeneutics, that is linguistic, deals with the manifestation of your interpretation through logic and speech. You are speaking, but what you are speaking is logically based and critically acclaimed of the methodology in how God thinks. If we are to do true theology, then we must do theology that is based on the Word of God. And when we talk about the Word of God, then we know that there are 20-some terms for word, but basically when we categorize them, they're either the good word or joyous word, apagelo, where we get the euangelizo, or euangelios, the good news of the gospel. There is logikos, which is the mind of God that brings clarity or logic, the logically arranged word of God, which could be the word of God that is bound in a context or a text. There is what we call the heterozugio. The term heterozugio is not literally a term for word, but it deals with the law of God. And so we do know that there are terms that reveal, or words that reveal, the laws of God. There is the rhema. The rhema then is the spoken utterance of God that gives you a perspective of God's mind concerning a specific arena. And then there is the logos. Logos, we say, the living word, is Christ himself, God revealed in utterance. And so when we talk about these things, and it can go to a greater degree when we speak of linguistical tools of theology, it goes so much further beyond the logic. It goes so much further beyond what we call the hermeneutical. But we want to stop right here, because when we talk about logic, we're talking about the full circumference of how God thinks about himself, how God thinks about everything that is theologically sound, and how God thinks and has produced and revealed everything about the theological principles of existence himself. Secondarily, it's very important to understand linguistical hermeneutics or hermeneutical linguistics. It is, again, the interpretation of the Word of God through the logic of God, the critical thinking, and the nurturative, I'll say, leading and guiding of the Spirit. And so it is the compunction and the unction of God leading and guiding us through our thinking, through our speaking, and through our studies. I thank you for joining me. We don't have a lot of time, and I just want to thank you for sharing in and listening to these videos. And again, this has been Integrated Theology, and I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Until next time, God bless you and keep you.